Welcome to today's Explainer. We live in a world that is completely obsessed with billionaires, right? But today, we're diving into the staggering reality of Mansa Musa. We're going to completely separate the internet myth of his unlimited riches from his actual, deeply human, and absolutely epic historical journey. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll be covering 1. The richest man in history. 2. The epic Hajj to Mecca. 3. The costly return journey. 4. Transforming Timbuktu. And 5. A complex historical legacy. Let's start with Section 1, the richest man in history. We begin with a concept that, frankly, just defies modern mathematics. You've probably seen the clickbait articles attempting to calculate his net worth into the hundreds of billions of dollars. But historians actually warn us that trying to slap an exact modern price tag on Musa completely misses the point. His wealth was literally beyond 14th century comprehension. In fact, he was a total master of PR. He actually spread rumors that gold grew like carrots in his kingdom just to build up his own mystique. And the reason for this immense fortune? The Mali Empire commanded a staggering 2/3 of all the gold circulating in the medieval Mediterranean world. They didn't just mine it, though. They generated incredible wealth by taxing the absolute daylights out of massive trade routes across an empire spanning 1.3 million square kilometers. Section 2. The epic Hajj to Mecca. This pilgrimage in 1324 is the single event that put the Mali Empire on the global map. It wasn't just a religious duty, it was essentially a massive, mobile city trekking across the Sahara. He departed Mali in 1324, camped by the pyramids of Giza in July, reached Mecca late that same year, and then faced a disastrous return by 1325. To really grasp the scale of this, you have to think about the staggering logistics. First off, the sheer distance. Musa's entourage crossed a punishing 2,700 miles of unforgiving terrain to reach Mecca. Just think about the massive resources required simply to survive that kind of journey in the 14th century. To support a trip like that, the procession was massive. It included upwards of 12,000 enslaved people. And according to historical Arabic chronicles, they weren't in rags. They were famously decked out in fine brocade and Yemeni silk. Oh, and each one was said to be carrying almost 4 pounds of solid gold bars. Alongside them marched 80 camels. These animals weren't just carrying water and supplies. They were acting as the empire's mobile treasury. And get this, each of those 80 camels carried up to 300 pounds of gold dust. Now, while historians do treat some of these figures as rhetorical rather than strict accounting, the core truth is undeniable. This mobile treasury created an awe-inspiring spectacle that instantly commanded the attention of the wider Muslim world. Through the eyes of 14th century observers in Cairo, Musa's arrival was less of a royal visit and more of an economic earthquake. Which brings us to Section 3, the costly return journey. You see, Musa's legendary generosity in Cairo eventually collided with harsh economic reality. It brings up a really fascinating question. What actually happens when you introduce too much gold into a market all at once? Well, hyperinflation. Musa handed out so much gold to the poor, to officials, and in the local markets that he inadvertently triggered a major financial crash. Before Musa's arrival, a mythical of gold was worth 25 silver drams. After he left, it plummeted to less than 22. This sudden influx of Malian wealth severely depreciated the value of gold in Egypt. It was a massive market shock that lasted for at least 12 years. And here is the ultimate historical plot twist. The richest man in the world ran out of money. Seriously. On the return trip, traveling separately from the main caravan and facing freezing cold and starvation near Suez, Musa realized he had spent or given away his entire traveling fortune. He actually had to borrow heavily, at incredibly high interest, from Egyptian merchants just to limp back home. Moving on to Section 4, Transforming Timbuktu. Despite the intense hardships of that return trip, this journey sparked an incredible architectural and intellectual renaissance. Using the connections he made abroad, Musa didn't just bring back souvenirs. He brought back brilliant minds. He recruited scholars and Maliki jurists from the Middle East. He famously brought the Andalusi poet Abu Ishaq al-Sakhali to Mali. He poured funding into the iconic Jinguerer Bear Mosque and expanded the Sankor Madrasa. By synthesizing indigenous West African building techniques with Islamic architectural styles, Musa transformed Timbuktu into a booming global center of Islamic scholarship and trade. Finally, Section 5, a complex historical legacy. How history remembers Mansa Musa depends entirely on who is telling the story. On one side, you have glowing European and Arabic written chronicles that celebrated his immense wealth, piety, and generosity, literally immortalizing him on maps like the Catalan Atlas. But on the other side, if you look at the Mande oral traditions, the local griots, they actually criticize him. They viewed his massive spending abroad as a reckless waste of Mali's treasury and saw him as unfaithful to local traditions. It is a fascinating clash between international PR and domestic reality. Which leaves us with this final thought. Does endless wealth alone define a golden age? Or is the true measure of power what you leave behind when the gold finally runs out? Mansa Musa's epic life leaves us to wonder if his greatest achievement was the gold he carried into Cairo or the enduring, legendary civilization he built upon his return to Mali. Definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep asking questions.